somebody says Salam Alaikum, you will say Wa Alaikum Wasalam. Is that correct?
Yeah. Alaikum salam.
Wa Alaikum Wasalam.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Okay, Salama, okay.
Okay,
So-
we're live already.
Oh,
And
good.
yeah, so I'm
Good.
sending the
All
link
is
now.
clear. Good. So, Hajja, this is the part that we send the link because we're already live. We will send the link, the Facebook link to you, so you post it on your wall so that all your followers will be watching live as we speak.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so I can
Brian,
post
have
it
you
on my
sent
Facebook.
it?
Okay, have you sent it to my WhatsApp or is it via email? Can you send the link also via email?
No, Brian, is it here?
I'm sending it now, Isaac.
No, I'll send it to.
Okay,
Okay. We're already live. We will send the link,
for the link,
to you, so you post it on your wall. So
meeting
that
ID.
your followers will be watching live as we speak.
Chijimbai. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so I can
Brian,
post
have
it
you
on my
sent
Facebook.
it?
Okay, have you sent it to my WhatsApp or is it via email?
Yeah, it's on
Send the
WhatsApp,
link
Ajay. Look
also
at it.
via
I'm
email.
just sending it to you now.
I'm sending
On
it now,
WhatsApp.
Isaac.
No,
Okay, so I
Yes.
will copy this and post it on my Facebook. For the link.
Yes, and just paste it. Yes.
Okay, meeting ID.
Our viewers, everybody that has been following us knows that
Okay,
this is what we do.
so I can post it on my Facebook.
Aha.
Okay, have you sent it to my WhatsApp or is it via email?
Yeah, it's on WhatsApp, Ajay. Look at it. I'm just sending it to you now on WhatsApp.
So Isaac, you
Okay.
may need to.
So I will copy this this and and post it on my Facebook.
I may need to what? I'm just trying to tag my wife. All right, good.
Okay,
mute the,
I'm good. Our viewers, everybody that has been following us knows that
yeah,
this
you
is
may
what
need
we
to
do.
mute. Yeah, you may need to mute your Facebook, the Facebook Live.
Yeah, it's on WhatsApp, Ajay. Look at it. I'm just sending it to you now. Hello, Brian.
Yeah, you may need to mute the live. You may need to
so
mute.
I will copy this and post it.
I should mute. I may need to what?
Okay, great.
To
We're good now. There's some kind of interference. Yeah, so we're live. Hi everyone. Thanks those for joining. Those who are live, please feel free to put your name, your city, so we could do shout outs while we start or before we start. And feel free to share too. Yep.
Yes, hello everyone. We're happy to be here with you.
Yeah.
Good. Just like what Brian said, please drop your names and we give a shout out to you. It's because of you that we're here. We're having these discussions for all of us. So without you, Topoh Spaces is not here.
Yeah.
Yes, I also want to appreciate everybody, people, our followers who have liked our Facebook page, our YouTube page, our Instagram. Really appreciate you. Today we have somebody very interesting. A woman, a mother, an activist, an educationist, a philanthropist, and I think, if she permits me, a politician. So, but according to the philosophy of our show, we'll allow her to tell you all that she is. So I want you to take your time. My colleague Brian has this philosophy that a lot of successful people like you are like scientists or mathematicians. People just see Hajia Hamsatu, Allamin. She owns an NGO. She's an educationist, but nobody actually knows how she got there. So it's like a mathematics calculation where the answer have just been, as it's just stated, but people don't know. I mean, the blueprints, Brian, what do you call it?
The rough work. No one sees
The rough work. Yes. So, we'd like to hear the rough work from your early beginnings. Tell us who you are, ma.
Yeah, as you told our viewers, my name is Hamsatu Allamin. I am the first child of 27 children from 3 wives left by my father. Yes, I was born in Guru Yobe State, And then, but at the age of 2, my father was a civil servant, so we were transferred to Maiduguri, and then I grew up in Maiduguri, and this is where I am still living. So as a child, in those days, Maiduguri was a very, very peaceful society. And as you know, we are one of the most educationally backward. So honestly, as a child, I can't remember any child that was going to school at my age, particularly females, in our neighborhood. Then one day my father came and informed my mother that he is taking me to school. My mother naturally, who will not be happy with that. She thought, oh, why school? So she wants also me to be just to stay and then get married at the age of 12 to 13 like her. But then my father said, well, the world is changing. We have to, in fact, allow our children to start going to school. There was some argument, but eventually she gave in. So I was enrolled into the primary school. And then my father takes me daily to come back from primary school. That's how I started. In fact, my early Islamic education, my father was my first teacher. Right from home, he would just sit me every evening and then be teaching me the basics of Islam and then of the Islamic practices. Mm-hmm. So that's how I grew up. I finished my primary school and then enrolled into a co-education school called Yerwa Government Secondary School in Maiduguri. At that time, we females are very, very few in our class. So after complete, that's how I finished. In fact, to date, my best friends are all boys because we were not many in our class, we the females. And then I happen to be one of those intelligent, so I always pair with the boys rather than my fellow women. So when we finished our secondary school, on our way, the day we finished, on our way back home, my father inquired, what next? I said, well, I want to be a lawyer. Then he said, what? A lawyer? Why? I was shocked when he asked, because all my life I have been grooming myself to be a lawyer. Hence, I studied the literature, history, and others. And I always emerged the best student in those subjects. So I said, but Dad, I didn't study science, so what am I going to become? Then he said, why not a career that everybody, the whole society will benefit from? Instead of a lawyer, you find yourself defending even a criminal, telling lies sometimes. So with those words, honestly, he convinced me. And then I opted out for education. So I was enrolled in the university, at that time it was Northeast College of Art and Science for School of Basic Studies. In fact, I was the first female student in that secondary school to have ever completed and then go straight into a tertiary institution at that time. That was as far back as 1970. So that's how I went to the tertiary institution. We call it School of Basic Studies. Then I finished it, and then after I was about 18 years, then my father said, well, I have to get married before proceeding for my education. Yes, as a child, as an obedient child, my father was my best friend. In fact, I don't know, so I have to succumb and then give in to whatever my father said. In fact, the word love and others, our happiness doesn't even count to us. Our own pleasure is to please our parents. And that's how I was married up at the age of 18. And then from my house, I started attending my degree program. In fact, every year of my degree program, I had one child. And then by the time I completed my degree, I had 3 of my children with me. So, which is very, very difficult for girls nowadays to cope with. Yes, and that's how I did it. And then immediately I finished my degree and then did the NYSC. I applied for civil service in one day. I got the form in the same day, filled it up, submitted. Then I was called for the interview the same day and then employed the same day. Wow. So in my interview, in fact, I studied just a BA English, but then majoring in English. So among the interviewers, there was one woman. They were just arguing whether to post me to the governor's office as an administrator. But that woman said, well, honestly, we don't have female teachers. So therefore, we want Hamsatu to be posted to the Ministry of Education so that she start teaching and then motivating our girls. In fact, that kept on ringing in my mind today, motivating our girls, because our girls don't go to school, neither do our society support them to go to school. So I have a task. I really realized that one of the tasks why I am even employed is to encourage my fellow women who are apathetical. It's not the women, but even the whole society is apathetical to education. So that's how I was employed and then posted to a school where it's all women, married women. The government at that time has created a school, a secondary school for married women. Some of those married women were all enough even to be my mother. Some of them were wives of former governors, very VIP ladies at that time. And I was that just at the age of about 19, getting to 20, then posted to teach them. So this is also another challenge to me. But then, in fact, that's where it molded my life. It molded me. It gave me the confidence, yes, to stand before women who are older than me, old enough to be my mother. Now I am their madam. They address me as madam, as their teacher. So I have to build that confidence and then the courage to stand before them, and then with the discipline and others to be teaching these ladies. And then I really like the way these women at that time, they never saw me as a young woman, rather they respect me as their teacher. So in fact, that's how I started. And then eventually my husband was transferred to a village. So which means I have to move from the city to a local government setting, which is about 30 kilometers from Maiduguri. It is called Kondiga. So in fact, that was another big challenge for me. I, who was born and brought up in a city, now have to go and stay in a village, which is I felt is a minus to me. So against all odds, I was convinced, and then my father encouraged me to go and enroll into my master's program so that while I am in the village, I can still continue with my studies. So and that's how I went and enrolled into my master's. In fact, so all along, my father has been supporting me, motivating me, and encouraging me to go. So eventually, I enrolled into my master's, and then at the village, it's just 1 year coursework, which means I have to relocate and settle in that village that I don't want. And then, in fact, that became a blessing for me. This became this beginning of my activism, because when I went to the village, this is a society where, in fact, women are virtually nowhere. Only local, as they are operating as local government staff, there was only one secondary school, and that secondary school is for boys. Women are not there. So I started wondering, what happens to the girls in this community? How can they ever be educated? How can they access secondary school education? So gradually, whenever I see girls being married at that early age, especially those who don't want to be married, because most of the marriages are forced marriage, I will now come and intervene, being the wife of the chief. I will intervene and sometimes even dislodge and then remove these girls and then come and then ask the principal to enroll them into that secondary school. Gradually, we have about 6 girls now attending the school with the boys. And then the government then saw the wisdom to appoint me a vice principal instead of an ordinary teacher. As they appointed me a vice principal, now I have become so stronger and influential member of the community. So I organized the village women into cooperative societies. At that time, it was the Better Life program for rural women era, led by the wife of the president, Mariam Babangida, and while the state governors' wives were the patrons at the state level. So I was appointed the patron in my local government. So being an enlightened person, definitely our own chapter became very, very buoyant. I can say sometimes we even compete with the state chapter. So I mobilized the women in creating a cooperative, starting poultry farming, going to the farms, going to into agriculture, in fact, going for even rainy season farming, mobilized. So we did a lot. And then gradually in that way, honestly, the government under a female permanent secretary even completely transformed and changed that boys secondary school into a girls senior science secondary school and gave me the principalship. And this was based on the recommendation of some federal inspectors who came and saw me in that school. And then they went to the education ministry and said, why don't you give that school to that young woman there? So the government now did a reorganization and streamlining program where they separated male students from females, And then they appointed me as the first principal of Senior Science Secondary School for girls in Kondiga. So gradually, I was just growing then, because it is very, very critical in our society to find women who are vocal, who are intelligent, and then buoyant, speaking, and then doing the kind of work I was doing. And then, the rate of corruption and others were not as pronounced as today. In fact, a military governor that went to saw me at that time, in fact, recommended that I should be now appointed, taken away from that school, and then be given the Borno State Executive Secretary for the Borno State Commission. That was as far back as 1997. And that's how I left that secondary school after 6 years of leading it as principal. And then I was now appointed the Executive Secretary, Borno State Commission for Women, and then brought back to my degree. And then after 6 months again, I was then again appointed the first Director General of the Ministry of Women Affairs. And at that time, Mariam Sania Bocha was leading her family support program. So that's how I was elevated. And that also came to be the beginning of the challenges I am going to face in life. As a young woman, intelligent and vocal and doing the kind of work I'm doing, and now brought to the forefront of administration as the Director General at that time I was very young. So a lot of older women were saying, why should I be appointed, a young girl, a young woman being appointed above them to head a ministry, a whole new ministry. And then among the men too, there were this kind of, why should such a young woman be exposed to this level? So in fact, it was, to cut it short, it was the kind of challenge that every woman faces in this part of the country, especially if you are intelligent, vocal, proactive, and then up and doing. So before you know it, they removed me from that ministry and then left me redundant for several years. And that for about 9 years, honestly, I was left without an office. So now I focus on how to build myself. I started going into this development work. I don't have the skills, I don't have the capacity, but then on my own, by name, I was a civil servant, but without any office. So before you know, just suffering, becoming a victim of victimization from the general society. So gradually, I built my resources, through my talent, I built my capacity, and then got connected with international partners who now, in fact, gave me a lot of exposures. I did a lot of volunteerism for the Muslim women organization in Abuja, because there are many Muslim women with capacity at that time too. So I went and stayed in their office for over 1 year to build my capacity to network across. And then gradually British Council then came to employ me to head the Northeastern team of the Nigerian Stability and Reconciliation Program, which is the largest peace building program in West Africa. Oh, wow. And now that is at a time when the Boko Haram insurgency is just starting. That is around 2010. So at that time, there were no INGOs in this part of the country. And then gradually Boko Haram has emerged with their targeted killing. Yeah. Although activism is part of me, I have just been a gender activist advocating for women's rights in education, health, etc. But peace building is an entirely new thing. So as the Boko Haram now emerged with their targeted killing, and then the government now came to respond with the creation of the JTF, then I saw a very, very big challenge to me. Because when I was working in that peace building program, I do in fact gather what I call the Maiduguri diary. Daily, I keep report of incidences of what has been happening in my part of the country. So I have even created my network among the youth, among the local women and others, because I believe if you want to know anything that is happening in any society, ask the women. Because we talk a lot among ourselves, we interact among ourselves. So I had built my network already. So I gather information from youth, from women, and then develop what I call the Maiduguri diary, daily incidences of what has been happening. Because at that time, there were no journalists who record incidences. There were no reporters not even Abuna, not even INGOs, not to talk of local NGOs. It is like everybody has gone underground. Only those boys with their guns having their field day in the Maiduguri. You will see them toting their guns, moving from quarters to quarters, killing who they want to kill, and then disappearing back into their own family houses and then spending their nights. So as I keep inquiring and then interacting with these women, I really learned that many of these women know all those boys who are violent. Some of the mothers were, in fact, the ones who are keeping the guns under their beds. And then, unfortunately, the men in our society do not even know some of their boys have become radicalized and become violent. Their fathers don't know. Why? Because this is a cultural context where the men do not communicate with the women. A man only comes to the house when he goes out in the morning, he comes only in the evening just to eat and then sleep. So our women are just queens by night, nothing by day. So you see, so the woman now aligns herself with her son. No, even though that son has become violent, but that violence is coming with something, because some of these boys are coming with money and others. And that also is an added value to the family, because it has changed, it will change their status quo, at least the way they eat, or even the way they dress, or even the outlook. In fact, in some quarters, the women will even gather to celebrate with the mother if one of their sons come with a gun at that time, especially in the outskirts of Maiduguri. Women will gather and celebrate, oh, the son of so and so has gotten a gun, you see? So this is the kind of society I live in. And then as violence escalates, the JTF who are now sent to us do not know who a Boko Haram is. To them, in fact, all of us are Boko Haram, especially we the Kanuris and Muslims for that matter. So because what they see, and you can't blame them, because at that time they will see just young boys coming out from the community, attacking them, and then running back into their houses. And then when they come, they wouldn't know where they are. So they feel that all of us are Boko Haram. So if they see any youth, they will just start arresting them from the houses, in the mosque, along the street. It was such a terrible situation. So instead of even helping to stem the tide of the violence, it even aided the recruitment base of the extremists at that time. Because many of our young men now start joining the extremists to take vengeance from the excesses committed by the soldiers on our society generally. So I said, no, I must know these boys, who they are, why they are doing it, so that perhaps there may be a way to stop it. In fact, that was my sole motivational factor, because I see nobody does anything. Our religious leaders became target. Our community leaders became targets. Who else? And the politicians too, some of them were targets. So nobody, practically in that society, it became a helpless society. Nobody was talking anything about doing anything about it. So whenever there are incidents like this, I will just keep my car, dress ordinarily like any ordinary woman, wear my bathroom slippers, cover myself in my hijab, and then go to those communities. When I go, I see the boys practically with their guns. I will see the mothers, women, and children dejected. I will see the burning houses. I will now console the women crying and others, even help them to relocate. And it was in downtown Maiduguri at that time. It was, of course, very, very dangerous, because initially some of these boys were telling me, well, you are also a product of Western education. Where were you when they were meeting all this on us? Yeah. But then gradually they come to even understand that I am harmless. And then they started communicating with me, calling me Mama. In fact, that Mama gave me a name that some people tagged me, the woman who speaks with Boko Haram. And really, I speak with them at that time. So at a point when I go to commensurate and then help these women, these boys will even come and sit down where I was to tell me their own part of the story. Then as a woman, I really understood that no matter how bad anybody is, that person wants someone to listen to them. They want to relay their perspective to, no matter how bad that perspective is. And I can give them that listening ears. And they will tell me, Mama, sit by me and narrate their stories. Of course, no government officials dare to go to to those places. These are places within downtown Maiduguri, near my own family house. And that's how. And then virtually there is nobody I can speak to. And the soldiers kept in fact, their counter-terrorism operation. Of course, it was a senseless operation because at that time they don't know who they were targeting. So to them, they are targeting all of us who are innocent. They cannot even get the real violent ones. So to date, in fact, these soldiers have arrested hundreds of thousands of young men within my community and environments. And to date, now it is getting to 9 years. There is no accountability, no news about them. Nobody knows whether they are alive or dead. And then their mothers, you see, a community of vulnerable women who have been deprived of their great winners, frustrated, angry with the whole society, that many women now will tell you Nigerian soldiers are worse than Boko Haram. And when I hear that, honestly, I don't blame the women, neither do I blame the soldiers. So, which means someone has to come in and then enlighten both society and then the soldiers themselves. But who will do it? Virtually nobody. So there was a forum we called the Institute of Islamic Thought, where like minds as academicians, activists, and others, we meet monthly to discuss issues. Okay. So they invited me. They said, today is my turn. I should now talk. Then I said, okay, what shall I talk on? But on religion, violence, and then the Boko Haram crisis we have. Yeah. So in fact, when we circulated it, people came in large number. So we went and then secluded ourselves in one classroom inside the premises of this federal training center. So I was speaking to the stakeholders when suddenly we realized that soldiers are just trooping into the compound. They came and surrounded us. They called us and then arrested me, the speaker, and then the person who is chairing the occasion, and then the convener. And then our audience were also surrounded by soldiers. So they took us to now the Giwa Barak detention facility where the hundreds of thousands of our youths were being kept. So when we went, the men said, well, soldiers respect women. Hajia, since you are the presenter, we are not going to talk. You will be the speaker. So when we went, a lot of interrogation, a lot of questioning, I was responding. And then the colonel who was now heading that unit said, Hajia, who gave you the permission to meet, to convene people? I said, Colonel, I never knew, officer, that I need permission to convene a meeting even inside a tertiary institution because where we met is a school. Yeah. Then he said, but you are discussing very sensitive issue. Then I said, officer, that sensitive issue is about us, about my religion, about my people, my land, and then my tribe. Then who else will better discuss it than us? Then he will ask, I will respond. Gradually, after about 5 hours of interrogation, then he said, Mama, I am impressed with what you are doing. If all the men in your society will do the kind of thing that you are doing today, honestly, somebody like me, he said his name is Akpan or something, from the extreme Niger Delta will have no business being brought here to manage a situation I do not even understand. So that gave me another entry point. I said, so this is what it is. So we have the task. You see, a soldier telling me he was brought to manage a situation he did not even understand. And today, believe me, I doubt if many of these military officers know the situation they are managing in that part of the country. That's why perhaps it is never ending. That's why they keep saying Boko Haram is faceless. They keep saying it will never end. They keep saying it is a challenge only in Borno State. So, in fact, that gave me an opportunity also to now get a link with the military, who are the Alpha and Omega, who everybody fears. So he gave me his telephone number, his contact. He said I should be calling him whenever there are issues. So eventually he said signal has been sent to Abuja, until they approve, they will not release us. Then eventually he said, well, he has been directed to release us, then we were released. And in that barrack, honestly, up to today, I did not have the opportunity to enter that barrack again. When I entered, I saw lines of young men, all of them stripped, some of them with just small pants on them, all of them arranged into streams, exposed in the sun. And I believe later I was told this is how they spent their day. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Even prisoners cannot be kept in the situation I saw them.
Yeah.
And then I saw a lot of vehicles, and these are tricycles. They are in thousands. It was honestly going to that barrack also is another experience to me. So I came out again. When I came out, of course, I cannot stop. 3 days after I was released, then my son, one of my son who was a student in one of the tertiary institutions, was coming back with his friends from school. So on their way, there was an incident of bomb blast in Maiduguri. Normally, when there are such incidents, all of us will run back to our houses and hide ourselves.
Yeah.
So anybody who is seen on the street, particularly if they are male, they are either killed or arrested. So they were coming, 3 of them with his friends. One of his friends was shot dead. The other one was shot in the leg. My son did not run, so they didn't kill him, but they caught him and beat the hell out of him. We couldn't see that boy until late evening. Then I heard a telephone call telling me to come to so and place and claim my son. Then I said, how can I go to a soldier's place? I searched for my contact. I could not get him. I went around to the houses of 8 men to accompany me to go and secure my son. Nobody wants to go to where the soldiers are. All of them refused. Then I just kicked my car and went. When I went, one of the soldiers with the human face now assisted me to carry him. He is almost dead. I saw the dead body of his colleague thrown. Then he told me, Hajia, you are lucky your son didn't run. If he had run, he would have suffered the same fate. So he said, where are you going to take him? I said, I'm going to take him to the hospital. Then he said, when you go, don't tell them that 2 soldiers beat him. Tell them something else. So I blessed him. The boy is just like dead, honestly. I never knew that he would survive. I put him at the back of my car and then drove away. Then also all these incidents to tell you how I became motivated in a voiceless society.
Yes, sir.
These are our...
Oh, the internet. But this listening, I think she'll be back shortly. The internet often does this, especially in Africa. That was a touching story. Like, how she found a voice and her motivation. So all the stories she was telling us, and how she moved from one difficulty and then had a silver lightning and had a breakthrough until all of these experiences forming this, forging her to be this activist that would learn about, and she will tell us her activities. So thanks. Let's just be patient a little, and she will be back shortly.
Yes.
Yeah, you're back.
Now?
Yeah, so
Hello?
it's normal. Yeah, I can hear you. So it's normal for the internet to disturb
so he
like
said
that.
The military moving with their headlights. He said, even if you are killed now, you will have nowhere to go and seek redress because you are under a state of emergency.
Yeah.
So I said, my goodness, my God. So this is what we are. I myself, I have been arrested. Nobody can go and bail me out. Yeah. My son has been arrested with his friends, were killed. Nobody could accompany me to secure him. And now a soldier is telling me, even if I am killed, I have nowhere to seek redress. So this is indeed a voiceless society. And today, Northeast, particularly Maiduguri, Borno and Yobe, better Yobe than Borno State. We are the most voiceless society. We are the most underdeveloped society. We are the society that these are society where you can try anything and go scotch-free because nobody will talk. Nobody will challenge you. So everything that happens in our part of the country goes normal. In fact, no part of Nigeria can tolerate this. And this makes my heart to bleed. So I said, no, this is the beginning of my second stage of my activism. I'm not going to work for any international agency. I will be on my own. And then I started on my own. I left the British Council work. And then after finishing the program, I couldn't apply again. So some of my international partners now encouraged me to set up my own NGO. In fact, some human rights organization, because at that time I was the only one virtually, I can say, documenting the daily atrocities, both from the extremists and then the state actors and what have you. So I was encouraged by doing that, and then we came to the era of burning schools. All our schools started being burned daily. We'll hear stories of every school being burnt in Maiduguri. So it's about, so I see there are so many things. Then I did my own, after doing my own analysis, I just said, as I told you, we are the most illiterate society, uneducated society. And this is historical. It has a reason. Because in fact, we are the most, one of the well-advanced Islamic societies, where in fact, even when the colonial masters came, they had to rule northern Nigeria indirectly with the belief that we have a system in place. They never encourage our people to embrace the secular education. Our colonial, post-colonial political leaders, neither of them focus on education even themselves. In fact, at a point after independence, Sardauna was celebrating the establishment of 2 million Quranic schools across northern Nigeria. At that time, secular education, secondary school were only at the provincial headquarters. So my people grew with a misperception that the whole secular Western education is a system meant for unbelievers, people who are not Muslim. So that's why, in fact, the notion of this Boko Haram came up. So therefore, and nobody post-independence, even in our current political era, nobody cared to address this kind of misperception and apathy. That to date, as I'm talking to you, some people will tell you school is the house of Shaitan in my part of the country. So I said, so my activism now, for the first, I said, since I'm an educationist, I have to come out, develop a counter narrative of this Boko Haram, which I call Boko Haram to Boko Halal, challenging extremism in northern Nigeria. And for this, I now selected some Western peace building concepts, like education, women's rights, living with non-Muslims when there are conflicts, mediation, these are conflict formation, and then set up a committee of 12 Islamic scholars. I called them, I said, look at this. Can you come up with what the Quran and Hadith said about these concepts? And when they did, it was very beautiful and very, very impressive. So we developed it into a small manual. And then we said, I targeted Islamic school at that time. I said, we will use the content of this manual to teach peace and peaceful coexistence, targeting Islamic schools, so that we can catch the children young with the message of peace and tolerance at this early age. And then I now took the content of this manual, I designed a radio program out of it, so that every week, in fact, one of my international partners supported me to do that. So that every week we will call one scholar to go to the radio house, speak for 1 minute about women education, 30 minutes, and then open the line so that the society will be calling, making their contribution. It was very, very amazing. My aim is to show the society that the kind of thing they consider Western and then allow it to be touch haram are not only compatible, but they are actually in consonance with the Islamic principle. So Boko is not haram, Boko is halal. And we succeeded in changing this narrative, believe you me. At that time, everybody was relocating to Maiduguri as IDPs. So many parents, especially girls, we saw influx of them coming, being enrolled into schools. Our schools became overwhelmingly full. In fact, local education authorities at that time have to call to tell us that they are witnessing more than 35% increase of enrollment of children, particularly girls, into public schools. So children were sitting under the tree outside in dilapidated building in the name of attending school. So that counter narrative, in fact, to date, the Islamic Student Association in Borno State now adopted this manual as the only one. They said compulsorily all Islamia schools must use it to teach peace and run peace clubs with it. And today they are urging me to further, in fact, scale up this intervention And I am still soliciting for my international partners who have promised to support me to scale it up. But you know, this is what our governments need to do. This is what our governments need to take note of, and then maybe even adopt and then access to scale up. But look at it, nobody even knows that we have done this kind of intervention. And it is because of this intervention that the Islamic Development Bank now gave me the prize for women contribution to sustainable peace in 2018. They said I'm the first Nigerian to win that prize. Wow. So I was awarded the prize in Tunisia. But up till now, our governments in Nigeria do not even know what the kind of thing we are doing. So therefore, this kind of thing now motivate me to focus my attention rather than pursuing government initiative to go to the grassroots and then work with the local people, with the neglected people, with the sideline and marginalized people. That's why I now become so rooted in my community. I am locally rooted, and then globally too, I have connections. I'm now locally rooted and globally connected. In fact, my networks internationally is amazing. And then locally too, you wouldn't find me among the elites. You wouldn't see me in government circles, but you will see me among locals. Locals like the IDPs, the vulnerable, the women, the children who are orphaned, and then the unaccompanied children. So in fact, with now I have taken you to another side of the activism. So coming back to the actual initial stage now, violence kept escalating. So our youth kept being arrested. Boko Haram too will in fact kill those who they want to kill among the youth, and then counter-terrorism operation will keep arresting some of our youth, and then there would be no accountability. Frustration is building up among our women and others. So I started advocating. I said, unless we, the people of Maiduguri, start catching those who are violent among us and then hand them over to the Nigerian military, definitely this Nigerian military will finish not only Boko Haram, but all of us. Then people will say, how are you? Are you mad? How can you go after someone with a gun? I will tell them that but this is the only way, because, you know, these boys will not relent, and neither will the military leave us. To them, all of us are Boko Haram. So gradually, the youth in Maiduguri now started taking arms. They started going after Boko Haram. In fact, when they started, many people were calling me to say, well, what you have been advocating has come true. And then gradually, they pushed the violent ones out of Maiduguri. And then I started advocating for the societies to support these youth who have now taken arms against Boko Haram and won us our liberty. But even then, you know, people will keep referring me from places to places. I wasn't successful. Neither am I successful to get the government to see how they can engage to stop this Boko Haram issue, or neither can I get the societies to support these youth now who are helping us win our liberty. So I said, well, let me, in fact, leave that portion still, because even if you interview some of these early youths who have taken up arms in Maiduguri, in fact, they will tell you I am one of those who first came to start supporting them, because I have even started mobilizing resources. I assisted them until it became overwhelming. Then I have to focus my attention elsewhere. And today, in fact, some people will even call me Mama CJTF. In fact, that's what they have been calling me. But then as the violence escalated, and then I wanted to create an alternative voice, because since I know these boys from the beginning when they were in Maiduguri, how can we engage them, those who are not violent, who are ideological, to start talking about peace? Then gradually I see that certain portion of the government are not interested in real peace. So I said, well, this is not a place I should waste my time in. And then, so I just have to focus my attention on the consequences, on the impacts of the violence on us, because the violence is still escalating. Both the state actors and the non-state actors are all the same, committing the same kind of atrocities on the very innocent people of the society. So I said, let me now start organizing these affected women. If you come to talk of women, we have a lot, hundreds of thousands of widows of insurgency. We have mothers whose sons were arrested and then disappeared. We have wives whose husbands were arrested and disappeared. We have women who have been detained because they are, as a woman, they have born children who have become Boko Haram, so they too may be arrested. Certain innocent women on the pretext of being associated with Boko Haram will be arrested, including children. Even children were arrested with the adults, some of them with their parents, some of them on their own. Because when Boko Haram takes over their territories too, they don't allow these people come out. And then when the military goes and Boko Haram abandons them, the military will now take the men and call them their Boko Haram, and then the women and the children too will be packed in the military detention facility. Yeah. Some of these children witnessed the death of both their parents, so that by the time they were released, they don't have anybody even as caregiver. We have thousands of such children among us now. So I said, and then as the counterterrorism operation progresses, then we started seeing the arrival of women who are now abducted by the Boko Haram themselves. Women whose story we have never had. In fact, until the abduction of Chibok girls, as far back as 2011, Boko Haram has been abducting young women, even within Maiduguri, from their houses, on their way to the school, on their way as commuters. They have been taking them, but nobody wants to report it until eventually the Chibok girls were abducted. And this was the beginning of mass abduction. So when they go to communities like Mangono, Marte, Kukawa, Mafa, Kondiga, Goza, Warabe, in all these communities and many more, they will sweep all the young women and children and go away with them. And when they go, they were kept in sex colonies and then sexually abused as sex slaves. And many of them then started coming back. Some of them will run on their own. Some of them will be rescued. They will come back with pregnancy, with babies whose fathers they themselves don't even know. And then I started conducting a research. Then I came across some of these women inside the IDP camp, secluded into one place. People call them Boko Haram wives. People stigmatize at them. All of them were you can say they are smelling horrible. Nobody wants to associate with them. Some of them were rejected even by their own families. Their children were called bastards. They were called bad bloods. They are called epidemics. It was terrible. Then I talked to another of my international partners. I said, if they will support me, I want to see what I can do with those women that I discovered of recent. And they supported me. In 2016, I started my interventions of working with this kind of women. So now I created what I call the Jire Dole Network to give a platform. My Jire Dole Network is tagged under the military platform. They call it Operation Lavia Dole. Yes, Operation Lavia Dole. So I said our own initiative should be Jire Dole. Lavia Dole, peace by all means. I said, but then justice by all means is what we call Jire Dole. Because no matter what, there will never be peace without justice. Yeah. When you have a corpse of frustrated young women, young children, and adults who are frustrated, who are neglected, who are sidelined and marginalized, and you are talking about peace, no way. These people must, in fact, look for a way of taking vengeance. When I hear women telling me military, our saviors, the people who sacrificed their life to save us, calling them worse than Boko Haram, I cannot sleep. No. And then and then when I see the real soldiers themselves, the foot soldiers, they are also victims. Yeah. The way we see them die in Maiduguri and Borno State, the way we see some of their families living in misery, they are also victims like us. Yeah. And then nobody is focused, and neither is the military top command committed to, in fact, educate or even accept or even acknowledge some of these atrocities that were committed by their colleagues, so that we can have peace and move forward and understand each other. No, rather, they are always engulfed in denials. They are always engulfed in rejecting what is being told, and then adding more to the frustration and then the agony of these women and then youth. So
Yeah.
now under Nigeria Dole, we have all these kind of networks of mothers, of wives, of children, of former detainees, women and others, and then of survivors of Boko Haram abduction. All of them are traumatized people living with psychological distress who have gone through a lot of misery, losses, and others in life. So we teach them a lot of skills, how to heal them of the psychological distress syndromes, how to manage their traumas, give them skills to rebuild their confidences,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
gain their self-esteem,
Yeah.
and then teach them how to start income generating activity, and then give them cash support so that they can put what they have learned in practice and then take the burden. So the whole essence of this is now create a platform for them to amplify their voices so that it's not us activists who are talking on their behalf, it is them who will now seek for accountability for their missing persons, who
Yeah.
will now seek for recognition for the atrocities committed by both the state and non-state actors on them, who will
Yeah.
now seek for recognition for the children that they born. In fact, in our
Sorry. Continue. Oops. I think the network. The network.
marriage have no space. So
Okay.
we build their capacity, give them the skills and put them in front so that I stay behind. In fact, now I am overwhelmed. It's not even my business to go and look for these categories of women. All their network members were the ones who now bring me, mama, new ones have come, new ones. But
Yeah.
it is very, very overwhelming. But this has made my life. So in a nutshell, and then sometime time again, and again, I would be called to now undertake some researches. I
Yeah.
did a lot of research, yes, especially for international partners like the EU and others on understanding the chronic education in the Northeast,
Wow.
on the role of women in countering and preventing extremism, on
Yeah.
the role of on people associated with armed groups. So many things I do, in fact, to make a living for myself.
Yeah.
And then my NGO now then focuses on the other thing, on the human rights defense, gender activism, and then the peace building aspect of it. So we become, in fact, as the saying goes, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is the king.
Yeah.
So we are now leading, yes,
Yes.
as the one-eyed king.
Yeah. That's very true.
So in a nutshell, this is, in fact, some of the things I have been, this is what my life is. Maybe as question comes, then maybe we can be talking more because I can keep talking from now till
Yeah,
end of the
and
day.
we could
Yeah.
listen to you forever. Thanks for the very powerful story idea, Hamsatu. It's really powerful to see you show us the rough work of what you have been doing. It's very stimulating both in terms of questions and answers. Some answers to some of the things that we never even knew existed, or some of those answers that to questions that we didn't know we had. But the first apparent question to me is because in your journey, the main tools you have used are education and your humanity, but all of those rely on character, and religion is one of the main establishments or like practices to build character. But now, as a Muslim, there's a lot of marginalization for Muslims, and most people just make the arguments that Islam marginalizes women. So can you please throw more light, because the work you have done requires a lot of energy, and if Islam would marginalize you, then you wouldn't achieve even a fraction of what you have achieved. So can you please shed more light on how Islam,
Yeah,
yeah,
sure,
influenced
sure,
you? Yeah,
sure.
thank you.
Thank you very much for this question. In fact, there is a lot of misconception and then lack of knowledge about the religion of Islam itself, even among Muslims.
Yes, ma'am.
The greatest challenge Islam has is the availability of ignorant Muslims. Muslims who now interpret or look at the religion in their own ignorance, and then the whole world now looks at Islam in that picture of
Yeah.
ignorant people. This
Yeah.
is the challenge of Islam.
Okay.
Believe you me, if there is any religion or system that has given support or encouragement, and in terms of education and empowering women, I think Islam will be one of it.
Okay.
Yes, from Islamic history,
Yeah.
the wives of the Prophet, who is named my namesake Hafsat, She is the teacher among his wives. She is the enlightened among his wives.
Yeah.
She is the woman who kept all the revelations of the Holy Quran on lips, on stones, on bones, and others. And she was the one who, in fact, kept custody of them and secured them until when they were now compiled later into the book that we are reading today.
Mashallah.
So you see, Islam has impact his first wife, coming to his first wife, who has all the resources, a businesswoman. When he married her, in fact, she used her resources to support her husband and Islam, and they grew together. And this is Islam for you. And then the Sahabas at that time go to the wives of the Prophet to seek.
Yes, I think we have a network issue again.
And when the Prophet, in fact, took over Makkah, one of the women asked him, Ya Rasulullah, why are you always talking about, when you talk, you address the gender, men, the gender, the male gender. In fact, henceforth, that ayahs coming from the Quran equally addresses us as mu'minina wal mu'minati, even the bad ones, Zaniati and Adzani. It's what, in fact, we were given, but I can't say it is equality, but Islam has given us the liberty to pursue our own rightful way of living, and then knowledge through lawfully and then organized, decent manner. That is Islam for you. But then people, according to their interests, will now marginalize, will now suppress this kind of knowledge, and then bar the larger society from knowing it. Because what we consider, even if you talk what you consider your interest is against their interest, because they are never sincere. So all that, so much so that even the young ones, even the young youth scholars who may be coming, not all of them are open to tell you the true perspective of Islam's position on women and girls. And then the other people of the other religion now will be now encouraged to see us in that dark picture of Islam burning out from everything. And I've told you, I am from an Islamic family. My father, my grandmother is a renowned Muslim scholar. Likewise, my father, who is educated and a civil servant, but he was my first teacher. So they encouraged us. The husbands we married to date, in fact, support us. Both my former husband and present husband, they support us. In fact, I did all my education in my house, practicing my religion, had all my children. I have 8 children, still a Muslim. And then with my master's degree, even the PhD is me who said, at my age, what am I going to get that I could not get with my master's? So I just opted out for it. So Islam is not a barrier, rather Islam encourages us. It's only the society that is placing a barrier between women and then their progress. In fact, bringing in the words of Allah, which may not be appropriately like to bar women, and then denying us the real access to real knowledge so that we know the true position of things.
Wow. Mashallah. Thanks, man. So over to you,
Thank
Isaac.
you.
Yeah. Isaac, over to you. Or do you want me to keep going?
I think I can allow you to keep going, because your perspectives would open up. I mean, the situation of Islam and also Boko Haram.
Yes.
You are a Muslim in America, a Cameroonian in America. I mean, please just go ahead. I'm sure it will open up. I know some things. I would come in as the discussion goes.
Okay. So now, like about government, I would like to talk a bit about domestic violence and especially the role of the society and how it comes out in the first place. But before that, maybe we should just look at the Boko Haram issue. So while you were telling us your role, your discussions, your role in mitigating these issues between Boko Haram, understanding them, understanding the military, and seeing that perhaps the government has a major role to play. So I would like you to please tell us what exactly the government can do to do their job to solve these problems. And after that, then we can talk about the domestic violence.
Hmm. Government has been doing a lot, but
Okay.
then that lot has not been good enough so far to
Okay.
end the crisis that we are living with.
Okay.
Yes, and then but along the line, because Boko Haram has now been allowed to become a hydra-headed monster
Yeah.
with several heads,
Yeah.
so that several other bodies are now operating under the shadow of Boko Haram.
Okay.
And Boko Haram, apart from the hydra-headed monster, Boko Haram itself has been allowed to become an economy which sustains a great percentage of certain elite and then other actors. So therefore, the problem has become multifaceted. In fact, a sincere government, well, if you say government is not a single entity.
Yeah.
So many factors come to play in government.
Yeah.
So many actors form part of the government. While certain aspects or parts of government may be disposed to peace, others may not be.
Yeah.
So I say it's a multifaceted, it's a sensitive. We have said that before severally.
Yeah.
In fact, that the government approach is not the right approach,
Yeah.
because you see, while the government will be talking about peace and others, even as at it today, I know government has been making a lot of moves towards peacemaking.
Okay.
Like in fact, inviting those carrying arms in the forest to come and then surrender their arms and then take them into, say, Operation Safe Corridor to be kept for 6 months, and others, which is now has become a major intervention, although even the society may not know much about it.
Yeah.
But that is not the right approach. Even Safe Corridor this is not the right time for Safe Corridor. Since this war started, to date, the war is still taking place.
Yeah.
Boko Haram is still killing people. Boko Haram is still abducting women and children and burning houses. And the soldiers are still in the bush fighting Boko Haram.
Yeah.
So in a scenario like this, now you go and then take some people into maybe 6 months of rehabilitation and then releasing them, while the whole larger society is groaning with the violence, the women are groaning with the abductions, and then the IDPs in their accounts are crying for lack of food and proper shelter, and others displacement still going on. It's not the right approach. So there are so many things government could do before they started. These people like us and others have been engaged. We have engaged larger society across the Northeast for a discussion. A lot of recommendations were given, but none of those recommendations were taken into account. Certain actors in government have focused their mind and attention on certain things, which they feel has to, by all means, it has to be what they want. And that is how it was. So therefore, in fact, I can't say it has become a very, very difficult situation now. Yeah. But then we pray that people will come back to the drawing board, and then the military who are yearning that they have finished, or rather will finish Boko Haram. After 11 years, Boko Haram is still killing them and us. Yeah. Honestly, that is not the right approach. And then so many other things we have to have a rethink, and then properly, not to leave people in the dark and then go behind and then bringing some of these boys and then keeping them in safe corridor and bringing them to the society, giving them a note that should anybody tamper or touch them, this and that person will be this and that. So maybe growing frustration while you are still growing nursing, and then growing frustration in the larger society and others is not the best way. Yeah. So, well, I can't say anyway, I'm not an expert in security, but there are so many sincere recommendations given by individuals and groups across the country. So I hope our government can come back to the drawing board and then have a rethink of the whole issue. It's now getting to 11 years. We are really tired. We are fed up of this situation, so that, in fact, we address these things squarely, so that our youth should be stopped from being taking up arms and then fighting a senseless war against their own very people, a war that does not take anybody anywhere. And then we are losing a larger group or a large chunk of our professional young men who are in the cadre of our military and others, and then young youth also are who are fighting both as Boko Haram and then as the vigilantes, and then the others who are also going into drugs and others. So it is wasting our society, not only the manpower, the human resources of our society, including our ecosystem. Yeah. Because here in Borno State, in fact, all our ecosystem has been devastated. Trees that have lived for over 100 years and others are no more now. Huh? Yeah. So there are issues, honestly, we need a rethink. I'm not the right person to advise government of what to do, but I know that some of these things that are being done is a misplacement of priority. And I know our resources, a large chunk of our resources is going into fighting Boko Haram in a fight that we do not see even an end to it in the near future. So therefore, we should hope to see a rethink and then a readdress, coming back to the drawing board to address these things head on.
Yeah, mashallah.
Yeah, mashallah. Hajja, thank you very much for your expositions. First, I like to say, because of what you're saying, so important. Oh, good. I was about to ask about your video. And I like to say this, and this is my observation. You have said it like twice now, that you don't think you are the right person to advise government. I, as a journalist who has worked in hostile environments, I pride myself to be a hostile environment expert, and maybe because I've spent a lot of time both in the front lines, in Maiduguri, in Kwanduga, in Baga, and all of that. I want to say that being a grassroots person, I think you are the right people. You people are the right people who have been in the grassroots to advise government on what to do. So I stand authoritatively here to say, as a journalist who has covered Boko Haram very well, to tell you that please don't remove that feather from your caps. Wear it up with pride as somebody who knows these things. I mean, the real substance of the problem, and who has been with it to advise government. Having said that, I am tempted to ask, what is the plight of your women in IDP camps now? And I also want to ask, because in earlier on when you were talking about, you talked about a colonel who said, if you people like, I mean, if there are enough people, sufficient people doing what you were doing as a mother,
Akpan.
you know.
His name was Akpan something.
Akpan, yes. Yeah. And that who actually said he's unaware about the situation. He's here. He does not even know what is going on. I have met soldiers who have told me that, Isaac, we don't even know what is going on. You know, how would you advise government? What is to be done? You know, so that these our soldiers actually, the troops actually understand what is going on, so that they can actually face this thing in a way that it can be resolved. Because despite NGOs like you, despite concerned citizens like you, whether we call it patriotism or nationalism, whether despite your being a mother, we still need armed forces to fight this war for us. What do the government need to do to improve, I mean, the capacity of these soldiers from a mother point of view, from an NGO man point of view, who has been in the front lines?
Capacity of, well, soldier military is a unique institution. They have their own system, have their own discipline, they have their own way of doing their things. But what I know is that, in fact, engaging in a kinetic warfare like this, Boko Haram war is not a war where Nigeria is fighting another country or some rebel, people who have taken arms to fight the Nigerian government for rebellion or to break away. So this is, as the military call it, they call it a kinetic warfare. Others among them, they are obvious. This is an institution where you do not question your superiors. So if you are asked to carry gun, go and kill, that's all you do. And then, sorry for the young military men who were given the guns to go and kill without information. Neither do they have the opportunity to understand what actually they are fighting. Is very, very unfortunate. So maybe somewhere along the line at the top there understands the situation better, but they, the young ones who are given the guns to go and fight, do not even know what it is. So we are not surprised. Recently, there was a very, very funny incident when our governor was involved trying to go to Baga itself. You have seen, and then such a respected institution and others, men coming out to say they are going to investigate themselves and then come out with a report that exonerates themselves. So this is the Nigerian military, this system. So, and this is what happens. In fact, talk of even organizations, human rights organizations that have been reporting about the human rights abuses in the Northeast itself. Yes, several times such reports come out, the military will come out itself and then refute it and then deny it and then blatantly turn it. Only last year in September, the whole rapporteur, the United Nations rapporteur on extrajudicial killing, Mrs. Kalamat, was in Nigeria. And she took a plane and came to Maiduguri. She came right to our office and stayed for 1.5 days in our office, interviewing people, recording testimonies, listening to the testimonies of eyewitnesses. She went and developed a beautiful report about Nigeria. Then after a few days after, then we had the spokesman, the presidential spokesman now coming out with their own version of the story, but completely refusing to even talk about the report on the Northeast. We people are infuriated. And this is a government you are calling people, ordinary people like me, to talk to. When even the special UN rapporteur has came and developed our report, our government representatives, I will not blame our president because I know he will speak for him. When his people will just deny it, and then we don't have anybody in this part of the country, there is nobody that can come out and then say no to it. So you see, there are a lot of complex issues in this that involves this country to bring us to the level of what we are now. So I believe people are listening. I believe only I will just call on not me alone, but others like you, the journalists, because many journalists have attempted checking, and then after reaching some level, they then abandon us to our page and then leave us alone. Let's keep talking.
But then I want to defend my people. I think the journalists have done a very good job in reporting the issues that are going on. You know, we are not perfect.
You are not all. Anyway, but these are the only brands we have.
Yes.
These are the only people who stand by us that I can say. There are some investigative reporters who have come to take our stories and went and publish it in Abuja. In fact, even going to the root of finding out who are some of our individual perpetrators as, and then following up them up, and then even mentioning names. But today we did not hear anything about it. So
I mean, but it's also funny. Aja, it's also funny
to come back.
It is also funny.
Crying near me.
You want to attend to what you can attend to him and come back to us. We are not in a rush.
Yes, please.
That's okay, man. I mean, what I was about, Brian. It's you heard about the Operation Corridor.
Yeah.
Just so our followers all over the world, and particularly Africa, understand when Haja was about Operation Corridor.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of issues. In fact, the only people that stood by us, I can say, are the journalists, really. Even now in Maiduguri, the only people who follow us to come and then cover us, amplify our voices, and those of the networks are the journalists we really appreciate. But then there is still a lot need to be done. But in situation where when a whole governor raises issues, it can be denied and then refuted without action, proper action or proper investigation taking place. But the same people who are accused now coming to say they have investigated themselves and releasing a verdict, exonerating themselves, is not a healthy development towards justice and peace.
But Haja, the whole government apparatus, security apparatus, is from Maiduguri. You have the National Security Advisor, is a Borno State person. The chief of army staff, is a Borno person. Even the Minister of Defense is from northern Nigeria. So, I mean, we find it difficult to not.
They are Borno people, and then Borno is now the epicenter of the insurgency. Yes.
Yes.
The chief national security advisor was my own classmate.
It's good.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. So that means you have a channel.
So it's not maybe it's not the personality at the head that matters, but strategies and approaches. Yeah. Yes, we are yet to see, in fact, the impact and then of the significance of those appointments.
But what we are saying is that these people are from this state. You people speak to them. They're your kinsmen. They have direct access to information.
Where will people like me see them? Huh? I can't remember. Where will people like me see them? Except in platforms like this that are created now, where others may be looking at me and hearing my voice, which I doubt if some of these actors like this will be even avail themselves to look at. So where will we even access them? We have spoken time and again, and then it has been published, and then the media has been doing their best. We have some commemorative days that we observe, where we bring all these affected women, children, and others to come, and then the girls to come and speak. We are not talking about only state actors, the military, now, including the Boko Haram themselves. Yeah? These children who are lacking maybe in home training and then respect for elders and women were the ones now abusing our women and then destroying our society. And then it's not only them, even the state actors cannot be exonerated in doing that. We have a lot of incidences, we have a lot of stories where children and girls and women have in fact testified to even being abused by the same actors that are supposed to protect them. Eh? But who listens? Who cares? Eh? I told you I'm talking about hundreds of thousands. When I'm talking about women whose sons have disappeared, I am talking about over 5,000 of them now in my register. And when I talk to you about women, IDP women, whose husbands have been arrested and disappeared, they are over 4,000. And then when I'm talking about Boko Haram abductees, in my small NGOs, I have 580 of them now in my hands. With those who I have made direct interventions with. So therefore, these people all are yearning to be recognized. And then we have identified some commemorative days where we bring out these women to appeal to authorities. There are women whose sons were even invited by our governments to be trained as vigilantes. During that training, these boys disappeared. And then to date, about 20 of them, their mothers, 2 of the mothers have died so far. Most of them are dying out of frustration. We have said it severally, time and again. There was once when we did it, I really appreciate our military men. They invited us. When one of their commanders was here in Maiduguri, he invited us, and then he said he has been directed to call us and then listen to what we are saying, which is a first step. We really appreciated him. We went with the network members and briefed him and gave him a written testimony. Now it is almost getting to 2 years. They have never revisited us again. So you see, we keep talking, we keep yelling, and then believe you me, even if it is 10 years from today, 10 years to come, and then even if I am dead, believe you me, those who are violated, those whose sons and husbands have remained missing, those who have been sexually violated by both the Boko Haram and then the state actors will never give up. They will continue yearning for accountability. They will continue yearning for recognition until justice is done. And then even if they are no more, believe you me, our children will keep making this noise until maybe the end of humanity. So therefore, it is in our interest. Yes, the military has been calling us to come and then cooperate and others. Yes, we have been speaking. So why don't you invite us? Why don't you listen and then understand what we are talking about? After all, it may not be you people who are now at the end of the affairs that committed these atrocities against these women and children. Even if your animal get missing, you cannot keep quiet. You will keep looking for it and hoping to it to come one day. Not to talk of human being, a child that you born.
How about women? How about the military can claim and say these women that you are talking for, their husbands are the ones that are dropping these bombs. Their husbands are the ones that have joined Boko Haram and are causing this problem. How do you reconcile to that?
No. That's what they would say. What they would say. But unless they call these women to understand what they are talking about, they will never know. They will continue accusing people wrongly and then adding to people's frustration and anger and then creating more armed enemies among the civil society against themselves. They can be flattened by certain NGOs who tell them, yes, we are with soldiers, well, we are with soldiers. People who are not directly affected, but those who are directly affected will never forgive, will never forget, and then these grudges will continue until the end. So therefore, the best thing is to call
What do you want? What is appeasement to them? How do you appease those people? That is one. Then secondly, I know that the United Nations has been spending a lot of millions of dollars in this insurgency. Most time it goes to NGOs and even to NGOs like you people. So what is the situation? Isn't this money sufficient enough
Thank you very much. You say United States have been right a lot of money. Honestly, I also share your view. Believe you me, I have never enjoyed a single dollar funding from any UN agency ever since.
Okay, how about the money from the presidential?
NGOs have taken over Maiduguri now. All over Maiduguri, over 200 of them. But you will see them in big cars, and greater percentage of the resources being mobilized is all used on they themselves, on the big cars, on their security, on their communication, on the renting of houses. A house that ordinarily cannot cost more than 2 million can now be rented at the cost of 20 million per month and paid for 10 years by a single NGO. So tell me what percentage of that money goes. And believe me, the sad thing about it is we have leaders, NGO leaders, all those networks I tell you, there are some who are now in Burma. Only last week, I was called by one of the leaders telling me that, Mama, our women are bleeding, are now living and then, migrating in large number to the Sambisa forest. Why? Because of lack of food. Believe you me, women in satellite camps in Burma, I have my network there, I communicate with them, I support some of them, were bringing me reports. 4 measures of millet, black millet is given to them for a period of 1 month, and it is now 4 months. No food. And many of them are migrating now to go to Sambisa. And then those, even some of them in Bakassi and go, who are now in fact happy to go to Monguno so that along the way they can meet with Boko Haram to abduct them, because they said if Boko Haram abduct them,
are you
they
serious,
are 2 square meals in a day. Instead of dying of hunger here.
Are you serious when you mean that some people would prefer to go back to be abducted by Boko Haram?
If you like, I can even arrange for such a woman, such women to come and be interviewed. They are now living in Burma. They go just less than a week. They are going. She said she knows of 27 of them. She has the name of 27. They have gone already. Even in Dalorikam and here, before the rainy season, every week they transit in large numbers. They said they are going to the Daula. And where is the Daula? It is the islands in the Lake Chad.
Yeah, that is when they say Daula, they mean the caliphate. They mean the so-called
caliphate. They are going, and I'm talking of today, last week. Not only, I'm talking of today, not even months ago. This report from Burma, satellite IDP, and they are dying. Most of our women have gone and become pregnant because of sex for food.
Okay, Aja, this is really bad news to me. I know how much.
It's very depressing.
It's very depressing for this to be happening. It means, I don't know what to say. It means we are going nowhere with this warfare. But what I want to say to you, ma, we are not. What I want to say to you, ma, now this is why Topoh Spaces is here. Our network, everybody, we have access. Everybody can watch us all over the world as we're speaking now. I want you to genuinely make a suggestion. to the United Nations organization. I'm sure it will get to them, or they are listening. I believe that you will get to them, or they are listening. What is the best way of appropriating these monies? What is the best way of appropriating these funds so that you get the best result?
They know better. Honestly, to my disappointment, I never knew that even the NGOs are just like us. Are just like us, in fact, scampering for resources like we, the local NGOs. I never knew until this thing happened to us. And then listening to the time resources were being mobilized for the northeastern Nigeria, believe you me, even if Boko Haram didn't end, by now I thought to see that there is a huge difference is made in the lives of IDPs who are living in the camp. But as I am talking to you, there is no improvement from the IDP camps that were constructed in the early days by ICRC and then Doctors Without Borders and UNICEF. The structures have all gone down. Here and where has blown them up. There is no further expansion. People are still coming into the to stay to bear on the existing facilities. And then all over Maiduguri now, the city of Maiduguri is being surrounded by wretched settlements made of polythene bag and sachet, set up by people coming who are displaced in recent years and then being inhabited. And those who are occupying, like the ones in Burma, IDP camp that I tell you, the women, it is because of lack of food and others. There was a time I reported this in the protection sector working group meeting. And then since then, honestly, I did not hear anything about it. And then where I have my network in Dalori and then 1 and 2 and others, there are some whom we struggle to secure this monthly card for. And then eventually this card, all the SIM card will go, they said, into default. For months, they will not get their resources. We will try, and when we go to the service provider, we'll discover that these SIM cards have been activated and someone else somewhere is enjoying that money. So who is doing this kind of thing? I was overwhelmed at a time. I have to give anyway. I can't give up, but then there is nothing much I can do as an individual. So I am overwhelmed. Sometimes I am I even become heartbroken. My heart bleeds for Borno. Now we have a change of government, a governor who is committed. You will see our governor himself. He will go and then spend the night standing to ensure that cards were given and then the food are mandatorily put into people's hands. The level of corruption in that country knows no bound, honestly. From everybody and others, everybody seeks to in fact benefit from what these wretched people are.
What would be your suggestion? It is a sad news to say that people would be leaving camps because of starvation, because they are starving, because of lack of food, and they are moving towards the Boko Haram so that they can be adopted and be taken care of.
One day I can even arrange for you to interview these women. I'm not creating this. I have my network across spread all over, and then these are the women. And sometimes you know the funny thing, these women sometimes will tell me when they come across the Boko Haram in the bush, they will tell you, "Oh, you from the land of infidels, so they are killing you with hunger. You want us to take you? No, go back and die there." So they will even refuse to abduct them. These are testimonies of young women coming to tell me this is what they did with these boys. So I don't know. The problem is multifaceted. And then if you see the INGOs themselves, maybe because of their recent encounter with the Nigerian military when the offices of some of them were closed and others, they are witnesses to some of these things happening. You wouldn't see any of them taking up any issue. So they only content themselves in their little securities and then operate and also enjoy their resources rather than taking up such issues. So looking at things, in fact, the way to stop this thing is not even properly addressed. Much of the stakeholders are not interested only in resources that will be divided between them and the ordinary people, and then at the end of the day, perhaps maybe less than 20% of that resources may go to the local people.
Okay, now let's say for instance, now you're sitting in front of the United Nations Secretary General or the head of UNICEF, which I believe that Topoh Spaces has that coverage, because Bryony is speaking from Maryland in America. I mean, we also have the whole of Africa. We have people who have come in from Asia. People are listening to us. What is the best way for the United Nations NGOs to appropriate their resources so that it can reach these women? Which is the best channel?
The United Nations NGOs will tell you
yes,
that peace building is not their mandate. They are humanitarian actors. In fact, right from the word go, that is why maybe they are not supporting people like us, because they said they are humanitarian, not peace building entities. So they are not addressing the root causes. So they know their mandate better themselves than me to advise them on what to do. If someone tells you this is not his mandate, what do you advise him on? But then I know there are UN Counterterrorism Center and others that are supported. But then even then, recently in a webinar, when I addressed it, I was talking about the situation of children and then they being detained by state actors and others. But then, and when I was invited to go and speak at the Counterterrorism Center 3 years ago, Nigeria's seat was empty. In fact, for that matter, I have spoken 3 times on different occasions at the UN headquarters, including addressing the UN Security Council. Whenever
you sent us a picture.
I noticed that Nigeria
is that a picture? Is that a picture that you sent us that we use for your flyer?
Yes. That was me at the Security Council in 2015. Even at that time, I searched for Nigeria's seat. Nigeria's seat was empty. When I was speaking at the Counterterrorism Center too, Nigeria's seat was empty. So therefore, I was telling the UN, I said, are they serious at all when they cannot even impress on their member states to be present when issues affecting them are being spoken? They cannot even ensure their presence, not to talk of complying with these issues. And then when I raised, after I addressed the UN Security Council, I was made to undertake 23 advocacies on Nigeria with the NGO Working Group on Women's Peace and Security. At that time, we were calling for a resolution on Boko Haram, and everybody would tell us that, well, it's Nigeria's problem, not theirs. They have done their own, but then Nigeria was not. So, it's just very funny. I was even completely discouraged from the whole system, believe you me, when I came back. But then with the coming of Buhari and then the change of government, then we started seeing hope. We started seeing life. So I said we are now reaching the light at the end of the tunnel. But then gradually, as we go, Buhari's first tenure ended, and then since I just coming back to be as before, and then look at it, you and coming to develop a report on Nigeria, and then nobody, people denying, people just maybe sweeping the report under the carpet, and nobody can bring it up again. And then we and this part of the country do not have the capacity, do not have the voices, and then to make to raise it up again. So these are the issues. Honestly, it's very, very unfortunate. It's very, very disturbing. I for one, my heart keeps bleeding. Although I am optimist. I'm an optimist. I don't give up. I believe, honestly, even if I am no more, we have started flagging certain issues that will be completed, honestly, by the others who are coming behind us. So we'll keep the agitation, we'll keep the call. But then for the UN and its system, honestly, I don't know much of the operations, but from what I have seen and witnessed so far, even the Assistant Secretary General was in Maiduguri. They invited us. They said, as women, and let NGO go to NGO to go and attend a forum. When I went, they have already earmarked those who they want to speak to her. So people who are like us were not even given the chance. Instead, some United Nations staff and others were called to speak on their own being excluded, and others in a conflict context, conflict-ridden context like ours. What? They are close to her. They could have taken their issues separately, not to wait until the woman comes to Maiduguri to see our issue. Then they confront how the issues affecting them. I was so disappointed. And then we left like this without any of us given a chance to talk. So in fact, now of recent, I have even stopped attending any of the sector working groups because you only go and make noise without actually impacting anything. So rather, I am happy to focus my attention on the small, on my grassroots people, engage them directly and see what the difference I can make in their lives. So at least now, these wretched, vulnerable, uneducated women, we are able to make them to come and then be speaking in community radios. They are talking about their issues, advocating for their concerns, and then seeking for accountability and demands. And then giving them the wherewithal from the small we have, so that they can be doing certain things to take the bottom of them, so that we put them in front. It's not us who are talking for them. They are the ones now taking their issues, advocating their issues, and then seeking for justice and demand.
Yes, Brian, do we have? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so thanks, man, for all the information, and also not just the pure information, but the emotions too that you have transferred through this session. So that calls to mind this question of mine. So you have, if our society, and especially Africa in general, and then Nigeria, and then down to Meduguri, yours that you saw maybe grow, smile, and then cry, and from all your experiences, if it's like a ship, right? You have seen holes being poked on the vessel and water leaking into the boat and it probably sinking. There are times when, in your personal experience, your child, you begged for some men to see you off so you could reclaim your child, but no one was courageous enough. And you have also stood up in cases where no one could stand. Now, with the issues of the IDP, you have seen other institutions squander money, people spending 20 million per year for 20 years, and all of those vices that crumble a society. So, from your experience, and also from what you spoke about, you said about government, I have come to understand that without the government, there is no citizenry, and without the citizenry, there is no government. So both of us are wings, is like two sides of the same coin. We actually exist together. So but if we are voiceless and there is no one to really support us, then we need some kind of a framework that can guide us towards the truth. So in your experience, what do you think we should do as citizens that probably have no voice, as youths that are grown? What do you think we should do that can help us, even if it's just a drop of water that in future can help us develop?
I think, to me, that's why I focus on working with the affected people directly.
Okay.
This is what the level we should come to.
Okay.
Come to work with the people who are affected directly.
Okay.
For example, now, just relating my experience,
Yes.
working with these mothers who are looking for their sons for over 9 years now.
Yes.
Working with women who have now lost their husbands for more than 5 years now. Okay. These women will never relent. These women will never give up. These women will never turn their backs against me. Yeah. Come rain, come shine, these women are supposed to stand with me. Even some journalists who are telling me of being, in fact, threatened to stop coming to people like us to cover events of people like us, because they said we shall put them in trouble. And then some of them will gradually start drawing cold feet towards coming to us. Yeah. But what these people will never do, these women will never do this kind of thing. Yeah. So therefore, any sincere international organization or government or the international community that wants to support our people, their agencies, their INGOs, their representatives will never stay permanently with us. Yeah. Why don't they identify and then see how to develop and empower our people themselves? Yeah. Look at the CJTF in Maiduguri, youths who have taken up arms, sticks, bows, and arrows against the Boko Haram with their AK-47 and driven them out of Maiduguri. Our people have the motivated, have the resilience, have the strength, have the courage to stand again. And then even as I am talking to you now, the kind of interventions we do, human rights approach, nobody does it because everybody is afraid of retribution. Yeah. But we believe in the power of the grassroots mobilization of the people whom we are working for, who will stand by us. So the only solution, the only thing that will now help, in fact, deliver our society is to build and then empower the local people, particularly the women and the youth, so that we take responsibility of our own issues, put us in front and then stand before us. But nobody can come and then stand in front of us, keep us at the back, appropriating resources to their own welfare and development, and think that this thing will end unless they have the dream of perpetuating this so that it keeps going to the end of humanity, so that they continue leading and then leaving us in front. So the only solution is empower the youth, empower the women. If you want to develop any society, focus on their women. Give those of us who are a bit educated further skills, further education. Those who are not educated, educate them further, strengthen them, give them the skills and empower them. And then you develop holistically. And then if you want to destroy any society, target their women, as being done today. What Boko Haram is doing is deliberate destruction of our very society. And then unfortunately, some state actors are following suit. The life in the IDP camp is a life of misery. Now the kind of sexual violence, sex for food and others that are being perpetrated by IDPs, by their fellow IDPs, by actors who are kept to oversee their affairs, and then by the extremists and others, is just terrible. So these are all a destruction of the society. The very thing that the very creature, women that Allah has made to be the best of humanity, to be nurtured, to be funded, to be the foundation of our very society, has been targeted and is being destroyed. And before you know it, our whole society will be completely destroyed. So therefore, the only thing is now empower the women, empower the youth, put the women and the youth in front so that we can take responsibility of our own situation and then lead to deliver us.
Mashallah. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I just wanted to say here, man, I'm sure as you are talking, people who are interested in helping, you know, they will be coming forward. They will be coming forward, but they also would want to know what so that the situation that is happening with the INGOs does not happen with the local NGOs. Is there any mechanism that you think that will put in place so that when it is when they are dialecting directly with you people, so that monies do not get diverted, so that it goes directly?
Are the local NGOs not part of the system? Everybody for now is the same in the system, to me, honestly. Everybody is the same in the system. You know, I was the person as far back as 2014. I initiated and created what I call, if you are working in the Northeast, you must have heard what they call the Network of Civil Society Organization for Peace. It was my brainchild. I initiated it, I sought for resources and created it. At that time, I brought about 64 civil society organizations and created this network of civil society. Likewise, I went to Yobe and created SAY, so that to serve as the voice of the voiceless masses. But what is happening? Gradually, the civil societies are also part of the system. So are they now serving the voice of the masses? No, rather they are more aligned with state actors than the ordinary people. So to my frustration, I have to impact now focus and then lead others, particularly focus on the women pace-based organizations, some of whom, although I can say we are all, none of us, including myself, none of us are perfect. We are all humans. Nobody is even up to 99%, not to talk of 100, but then they are better. So therefore, now as Buhari now became the head of state, there was a ray of hope, there was solidarity, there is every prayer is for him to lead and then to lead us to safety and security and development. And that he was just an individual. Likewise, among the NGOs, civil society organization, it may not have to be a group. Yes, start with the few that you have, and then the few that has can now mobilize like minds, and then the like minds can now be strengthened. Give them the instruments, give them the tools, give them the resources, resource them so that they can perform. You stand at the back, guide them. As for United Nations and other, you have the money, you have the skills, you have the knowledge. So what stops you from translating it to sincere individuals so that you can build a crop of sincere people around who can now lead up? Yes, So even people sometimes say one individual cannot make a society, but it is the idea of one individual that makes the whole world change. Now in Islam, is it not the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam today that is the best of humanity that has led us to where we are and still believe and then follow him? Huh? For the Christianity, are you not following the single Jesus Christ that existed, that even your great-great-grandparents have never even lived in the same generation with him? So what do we mean? So even an individual who is strong, who is can be supported to mobilize others, and then so that you stand by it. Because the idea that you will continue to be here is not feasible. You will not be here for us. Should even situation generate, even now as it is, with the near resurgence and escalation of violence, many countries have told their nationals not to come to the northeastern part of Nigeria. So therefore, why don't you focus on supporting those individuals who are on the ground, strengthen them, put them in front, resource them, but then every organization will want to bring their own consultant. In fact, there was even an NGO that was looking for a consultant to do certain study for them. I applied. Then they said, well, my capacity and skills is beyond what they can pay. So rather, they brought someone whom they can pay with minimal amount to do the work for them, whether it is okay or not. It's not their concern, but then to produce a report and hand it over to their donors, since they also are looking for resources from their donors. So the issue is honestly is becoming very, very overwhelming. I don't think people have even a target of when they want to live here. Maybe they just have a plan of living here forever, which may not be possible, but there have to be a change of strategy, change of approach to approach African issues. And then we Africans, especially we women, and then our sons, the youth. In fact, if our forefathers had been treating their society the way we people are doing it today, honestly, we couldn't have been what we are today. So I don't know what we people are going to leave our posterity. So we have to think, have to get everything, go back to the drawing board and see what we can bring to the table, so that to build a society that can stand the test of time, so that our posterity come maybe some years now from today will now proudly say, yes, they are Africans, and then stand for themselves. Otherwise, honestly, I don't know. We are, because our attitude, our mentality, our disposition is all towards ruining our society. Yes. I challenge even some INGO saying they are not building our capacity. They are not equipping us and others. Then they continue saying, well, we local CSO have no capacity. We local CSO have no skills. So which means we don't have, and they are not willing to give us. So they want to continue dominating and then leading. So where will that take us to?
Yeah, I see.
But I know there are sincere governments internationally that are willing to see to the capacity and then growth of the locals. So I believe, honestly, some of them will be rich, some of them are listening, so that they can focus more on direct intervention to empower and strengthen our resilience and the resilience of those local people who are on the ground, who will stand by their cause and issue come rain, come shine.
Mashallah. And if we have to, if we or people out there listening have to support you directly, first, what is the minimum package that can help the women under your care or that you have access to? And secondly, how can one connect to you?
I do not beg for support, Mr. Honestly,
no,
I have
it's not
never
about
begged for
begging.
support.
Yeah.
I have never begged for support.
Yeah.
My support came from people who knew my capacity, whom we have related in one way or the other, so that they now ask what we want, and then in the spirit of what we want, then we bring some of these affected people, and together we identify the needs to be supported. So I can't tell you this is what I want. No. I have never done it, and I will never do it. But this is just a general discussion that affects everybody. And then I'm talking, well, because some scholars will take it, even look at you as she is advocating for resources for herself. While actually, if I have been advocating for resources, I will know where to go to, and then I know what I have been getting to do my work now. So this is not even my concern. It's a general thing.
This is why we're here. This is why we are here, not just to talk about the problems, but to see how we can provide solutions. Now, we have telling you, Brian, my colleague is saying so because, I mean, even Topoh spaces, we have a social responsibility. We are Africans. I'm an African. He is a Cameroonian.
No, if they have a site, I can always share my screen. So that's what I'm asking. So, like, if you have a website, I can share it, and those watching can see the website.
Oh yes, we have a website.
Yes, please.
Do you want me to read out or later?
Yes. Isaac, if you can text it to me, or please read it out so I can just share my screen.
Yes.
And yes.
Sorry, our website is www.Allamin Foundation for in Figo, not Allamin Foundation for Figo 4.
Okay.
For fees.org.ng is our website. Yes, for email and others and telephones, I think you people have our contacts.
Yes.
So I'm saying, in fact, there are others who we have a lot of like minds. Why can't we? As I told you, my strength lies in my creation of the network. I have a network of affected people. So why can't we come up with a network of peace builders, women peace builders, youth peace builders, so that among us, we can sanction and support each other, so that we can build the capacity to work, so that among us we can be able to monitor each other and then hold each other accountable and responsible. So if they can do something like that, support us to create a network, the network among ourselves, that of people who trust each other, whose capacity can be built and supported, who can stand for themselves and then account for their donors and supporters. I think it would go a long way. Single woman activists working on what I am doing. Many people are questioning against my safety, and many people are concerned about my safety and security. Yes, but as a Muslim, I believe my safety and security lies with my creator. But then individuals will have and will do a. But then individuals there is a lot individuals can do to enhance my security. In fact, there was a time I was talking to the German ambassador in Nigeria. Then she said, Hamsatu, you need to come and brief us better so that we also can add to your security. Yes, I can tell you, I have been working. People have been expressing concern about my security, but I tell them, well, I have never been threatened. I have never been threatened by Boko Haram. I have never, but perhaps my fear is with the state actors. Although the state actors themselves have even not ever threatened me, but I believe, much as I have trust in Allah, my creator, but then my international connection is also a sort of security. So international actors come to us.
This is your website. This is your website. Look at your.
Am I seeing it for us?
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen.
Okay.
And I would share.
You can see it.
I wanted it to load.
Oh no, I haven't seen my website here.
It's loading.
Okay, Allamin Foundation for Peace and Development is not yours.
Okay, just a minute. Let me set it up. Isaac, it's still
this
loading.
Is the name of the organization. It's www.
Yes, I am on it. It's taking a while to load, but I will show it whenever it comes up.
Yeah, www.Allamin Foundation for in words for peace.org.ng.
So the four is it in figure or is it?
Figure. Okay. Yes, for peace.
Four. Okay. Wow. I'm really. It's really depressing to hear that people are going back. People are going back.
People, especially women. And these women, because they are very, very powerful. Men coming to tell me the women are coming to campaign among them. They were saying, "Oh, brother, so, what are you doing? Dying of hunger? when your fellow men are working and then making it there at the Daula that is inside the lecture, where they said fishing is flourishing, international market is running, there is free water, there is free medication, you can work on people's farm and get paid. And they are women, all of them will now be married, radicalized, and then transformed to become something else.
It's really sad.
It's really sad.
I can
of recent, even the boys themselves were telling them, oh, you want us to abduct you? No, go and get killed, go and die of hunger from the land of your disbelievers. This is what they tell them. They even refuse to abduct them.
Yeah.
They even refuse.
They refuse.
I think
that's what I'm telling you at last week. This is the report I'm getting.
It's a shame. This is a
they
shame.
tell them, no, so you have come out, look at you, go and die in the land of unbelievers. Go and die of hunger.
So let me share my screen. The website is taking some time to load. So I've just put the Facebook page. So those who are watching, they would see this then on the screens instead of us. So yeah, here.
Okay, yes, Aja, you can also be contacted via your Facebook page, I guess.
Yes.
So please, those who are touched by the stories and motivated, especially by the practicality of Mama's movement, please look. This is the site. You can reach out to them. And I was also thinking from the solution, she suggested that we should get involved actively, especially with those that are affected. I know here in the United States, volunteerism is a culture that is actually taught and enforced, and people get married through it. Where like kids could go somewhere, even like when I just came to the States trying to look for a job, I had to go volunteer in some places, even to pack clothes. And I'm wondering if that's something that can be implemented in those areas, especially if there's security, so that parents can leave their kids or some youths around can go help and clean up, or perhaps develop a tomato garden or something like that.
Are you asking me a question?
It's just a thought. I'm just thinking out loud.
But did you get what he meant, Aja? Her microphone is Brian?
Yes.
Her microphone is muted.
Oh, okay. She's probably let's wait.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, ma'am.
We can hear you.
So I was saying, I was thinking out aloud. I was wondering if like activities like volunteerism, where younger ones around can come and participate actively.
Oh yes. In fact, for example, in my own NGO, this is what I encourage.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, yes, this is what I encourage. Now I have about 9 active staff whom we pay salaries, but we have our 15 volunteers.
Okay.
Yes, and then we have not closed. We are even taking more volunteers. Those who are, whenever we have and others, or when we have ad hoc works and errands, then they can be part of. And through that, then they can learn also. At least seeing what we are doing will motivate them so that they can get, if employed anywhere else, at least they have the skills, they have imbibed the courage of culture, and then speaking out and then standing for people. It can be they have imbibed this kind of attributes and then culture, so that they can be supportive of their very society. And then I keep encouraging young people and then others. And there is one of our international supporters, Global Fund for Women, who have recently told me they want me to in fact employ more women. So they said, if they give me resources, can I employ? I said, why not? Then we can be paying even stipend or salaries or allowance, or that, so that we can be able to keep them. And then instead of 1 year grant, they gave me 2 years just to employ, to add more women into our organization. So in the next 1 month or so, our staff will even be 10. And out of this, there will be 6 women and then 4 women. So there are others who are now, who our admirers and others who wants to build us up. And then among our biggest donor is the Open Society Foundation, also based in the United States. Under normal circumstances in Nigeria, they wouldn't have supported me. But their staff who came and then to Nigeria and saw me, in fact, followed me to my Maiduguri office and then came and saw our office, and then saw the women we were interacting. So when we proposed a 2-year grant, he said, no, we can spend this money in 1 year, and they are willing to support us again, continue supporting us, and then build even our net. Now the international community are all operating in my land, but unfortunately, none of them is my partner. So I cannot pass anybody.
And Hajja, the UN Vice Assistant Secretary is a woman from Northern Nigeria, isn't she?
Yes.
So you people have not been able to get together and reach her?
That's why I told you when she came to my degree. And then we were invited. In fact, I, for one, was even asked to come so that we can represent the voices on the ground. But when we went, I said, they have already identified those who they want to speak to her.
To talk to her.
Yeah, to talk to her. So none of her, and I'm not a small woman, I'm not a small girl, I'm over 60. I cannot push myself for something that I am not called upon. So we just stayed there, and then they did their thing and left. And I have never had any access to her, honestly, to speak. But then gradually, moreover, publicity is not out of my, it's out of my priority, honestly. Ever since I started my work, I just do my work. Publicity takes money, and look at it now as we progress and grow. Look at even people like you are looking for us free of charge, and then promoting us, and then asking us to say our views, and gradually that's how it is coming now. Yes. So by nature, I never push myself. So we do the work, and then let the work we do now portray and show us better. That is my policy, honestly.
Amazing. I'm on the site. I'm a computer programmer, and the site takes too long to load. So Isaac, maybe you can mobilize with Paul, so you guys can see what to do.
Okay, it doesn't.
It's really slow.
Did you spell it correctly at all?
I did, but I mean from a technical point of view, it takes too much time to load, and even when I was asking earlier, I wanted to know
problem. Later we can.
Yes,
later
please.
I can
Yes, we'll do that.
And then anybody who asks, then you can share.
Yes.
This is what he's saying. We have friend. He's a computer programmer. So we also have a friend here in Abuja who is so very good, and something that you are interested, the person will be happy to come in. You know, I'm sure this is something that Otto can do from Abuja, right?
Yes, he can do from Abuja. So because it's really slow, and I clicked on the donate page. That's what I was asking before. I wanted to see the donate page so those that are watching can see it. And when I click, it goes to another page, but it takes time, and I'm sure you're seeing my page, and it has to download this.
You know, and then it's now rainy season, so maybe the internet and then
so it's good to be made faster, because people are impatient. The more computers get faster, the more impatient people become. So it's good, So Isaac, please, you can coordinate this, and we'll see how we can help.
All right, all right. I would get across to Otto, and if she's happy that he can help making it faster.
Yes.
So
yes,
I mean, we'll do it, man.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, when somebody wants to donate, he just clicks and the platform comes up. He's happy to drop. But when you want to donate and you have to wait, sometimes the opportunity is missed. People are a bit impatient. If it is something that can be fixed, why not, man?
Yes.
You know.
Okay. Yes, and then we operate from the northeast. I told you we are the most undeveloped. We are the most backward. So in every indicator. Everything of us, we are just coping with situation and then doing the best that we can out of the little that is available to us. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The last time I was just to ask now. The last time I was in Maiduguri, I heard that there was an NGO. I think was it Oxfam that was giving women tokens of money. What's your assessment of that? That was giving women, instead of food, or they give them tokens of money.
Yes, it goes a long way. Sometimes, there are many NGOs that give tokens, and then some give food. So even those who give food, sometimes you will see these IDPs selling part of the food. because they need other things like the spices, and others, and then other needs of life. So they will sell part of it and then buy whatever they want else, like the condiments and others. So it is, as long as the NGO policy is that, I think it is okay. It is support at any rate.
Yeah.
So, but then you have to be sure that you have given people the skills or what they, but also one thing you should note is that most of them are just humanitarian. They just want to give you so that you can eat food, and that's all. So the question of giving you skills, building your confidence, healing you of your trauma, or psychological distress, teaching you the art of saving, and then income generation and others are not, they do not pursue that. So
Yeah.
they just give the money and then buy whatever they could buy with the money, or give them the food, sell half and buy other things, and that's okay. It's still okay. But then there is more that needs to be done in that part of the country. Honestly,
Yes.
the number of people who are nowhere rich, in spite of the huge humanitarian presence, is more than the number who are rich. And then vulnerability is increasing, of particularly women and children. That's why the vulnerable, you see them migrating, eh?
Yeah.
Exiting in large number to go and join the extremists. Eh?
Yeah.
And then young people, young boys who have been taken and then come back, now getting an opportunity to likely go back. And then those young men who they said have been de-radicalized, the society does not want them anymore. They don't even allow them free movement. So what do you expect? Should they get any opportunity, they will go back, so long as the war is still raging. And then effort to stop this war finally is the most impact. Uh, if the people were saying, yeah, some American, others saying, well, the America is the rule against the rule of America to support any NGO working for or working with any extremists and others. When they were negotiating with the Taliban to release the American soldiers, is it not with the extremists that they communicated and worked with to secure this release?
Yeah.
So in fact, so the people, countries, and partners should be allowed, in fact, the free will to, in fact, seek whichever disposition they are that will lead them to lasting peace and security. And as Africans, we have our own traditional community conflict management and mitigation mechanisms and
Yeah.
architectures in place through the institutions of traditional rulers, the religious leaders, and others. But the corruption, the institutionalized corruption, has now affected everybody. No single actor can be exonerated from this. But this is not to say, in fact, we still have good ones among the bad. We still have few good ones, people who are able to, who are committed. And then if they are not protected and then stood by to deliver what is in the best interest of the society, very soon the bad ones will take over, and then they will soon disappear from the surface of activism that we see them. So it is very, very important to seek out those kind of people and support them.
Mashallah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma, for your
Thank you.
time
Thank you.
and
Thank
for
you.
all the important information that you have put out here. And this is why Topo Spaces is here, so that we have people, who are in this grassroots, who can speak out these experiences unfiltered, so that the world can get this information, and the required models for development can be deployed. We would be happy to have you here back next time, especially if we can have those women to come and speak for themselves. I mean, when we
No
have
problem. Yes,
Kanuri,
some of them
even if they speak
very
Karuni,
few can speak Hausa, but they can speak and we can translate.
you can
Those
translate.
who have, yes,
Yes. So
they
this
will
is
be
this
very
is
happy. We have built their capacity. Some of them have been speaking to the media. They
good.
advocate for themselves so they can speak.
Good. So, Ma, we'll leave this with you. If you choose a
Yes,
date, just let
yes,
me know the date. You
okay,
understand? And
yes,
we can work it, and we have at any time that you want it, we can make it happen. Yeah.
okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank
Yes,
you
Ma.
very much.
And
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Really, I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you very much, Ma.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
Right.
anybody who wants to reach out to us, maybe if they contact you, don't hesitate to give them our contacts, please.
Yes, man. We will not
Okay, man.
hesitate.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll do that. And we showed your website so they would also see it and go directly. And Isaac will also
Yes.
mobilize the other tech guys so we can
Yes.
work together and see how to make it better.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
man.
you.
So I will call you with my tech guy. His name is Otto. He's also part of it, our friend.
Okay.
We would see how to make it a little bit faster so that anybody that wants to do something, drop something, he clicks and it opens immediately. You know.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. See you soon.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.